Hey everybody, and welcome back to C#. In this video we're going to talk about functions. Before I get started, a huge thank you to everyone for subscribing and hitting that notification icon. That really helps me out. And of course, an even bigger thank you to my members and patrons. Your names will, as always, be running across the bottom of the screen at the end of the video. So in our Hello World program so far, all of our code and execution has been carried out within this main label. And the reason for that is that main is where your program is going to default to. This is the code where it's going to run. But we can create code outside of this which works just as well. And the way that we can do that is by creating functions. Now, the first part of this lesson I want to talk about what happens if we input nothing inside these read lines. So if I return nothing at the moment, it's just rattled through and it'll keep looping around until I type in brown in this box. But what happens if we don't really want to keep doing that? Well, the first thing that we can do is we can remove the while loop from our code like this, and we can correct our tab spacing on this plot and check by typing Shift Tab, and there we go. So now we're back to the point where this lot doesn't loop back round. It just comes through at one time, and we say if favorite color is brown, console right line, why don't you like brown flaggy? We can actually get rid of that as well because we don't really need that anymore. And what we can do is we can actually put down some if statements after these lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if fav color, let's just double click on that, we can copy that, if fav color, and we need to obviously put this inside brackets so that we know that we're checking something, if fav color, and then we're going to compare it to an empty string. Then we need to carry out whatever code happens within this set of curly braces, like so. And then we could realistically, say console dot write line, and then we could output the string you didn't type anything Egypt, like so. And then we could just say ask for this again, like so, which is fine. And if we run our Control F5, we run our code, you can see that if we just type that, it says you didn't type anything Egypt, and then it carries on like that, which is fine. It's not a problem at all. But there are problems with doing it this way because realistically we need to do that for every single line, and we end up replicating code. So for example, I would have to just copy this and then pop it in here again, and then we just have to say if fav body part equals blah blah blah. Then we'd have to copy and paste that one there. And as you can see that we end up in this weird situation where we're basically doing the same thing. We've got this line here is identical to this line here. And this line here is almost identical to this line here. And we really don't want to do that. There's no point in having duplicate code if we can possibly avoid it. And one of the ways that we can resolve that is by creating a function which does the majority of this work for us. And one simple solution that we can have is if we come outside of this static void there, and we can create a new static void, and we're going to call this one return empty string. Now let's just say you right type nothing. There we go. And then we can just create that like that. And then we can just have our string like that. And then in here we can actually take this, pop that in there like that. And then instead of having to write console, write line, blah, 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 we can just type in that there. And we can replace that line there. And we can replace this line here. And then not forgetting that we have to put, oh, hello, I've made a massive typo there. Where did that C come from? Good lord. Right, so we do that there.
and then we do the same thing here, close with brackets and a semicolon. And then if we do run our code, it says you didn't type anything, Egypt, and it does it twice, blah, 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 blah. Cool, fine. Okay, so we've got a function that's doing some stuff, but this again is a static void. It means it doesn't return anything. All it does is write something to the screen and then returns to where we were before. But what happens if we want to change things so that we're replicating even less code and that this actually does something? Well, it's entirely possible to do that. What we can actually do is we can have this actually return something. We can say static string like that, so it's now going to return a string. And then what we have to do is add a new line of code, and we're actually going to return something this time, and that return is going to be console.readline like that. So now this returns something, and it returns whatever text we input. So what we can do is we can actually remove this line of code from here, and we can input it into there. And we just delete the extra spacing and bring it back like this, and we can obviously delete that up there, and it throws up a big error code because that's not how we do it. What we actually have to do is simply say fav body part equals reply right types nothing, and then we can just copy this line here, see that one, and we can just change this to Control V in there and get rid of this line of code like so. A little bit more than we wanted to there. So cool. What we're now doing is we're saying if nothing is typed in this box, then we simply say fav color equals right type nothing. In the right type nothing, we say you didn't type anything, Egypt, and then we ask them to re-enter something. So now if we run our code, what's your favorite color? You didn't type anything, Egypt. We just type in brown there. What's your favorite body part? You didn't type anything, Egypt. We put in flaggy there. And then as you can see, finally, you like brown flaggy, nips, hips, beehole, lips, winky, booby. Boom. That's how functions can work. Either way, I think that's about it for this episode. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you found that useful. Let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. I do read them, even if I ignore the rude ones. I will see you in the next episode, guys. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.